In this video, we're going to be connecting the dots between the Hurricane Helene that devastated the North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina area, and BlackRock, the lack of participation from the federal government, and the lithium and quartz mines that happen to be stationed within the mountains of the very region that got devastated. What does this all mean? We're also going to be tying together the other disasters that have happened in recent history, and we're going to see a pattern here. And I think by the end of this video, you're going to be as mad as I am. First, let's talk about the laughingstock that calls themselves FEMA. And let's talk about this clown that calls himself Majorca. This guy's nothing but a bold-faced liar who claims that he doesn't have any money to help for the devastation of this hurricane. Well, could that be because they gave billions of dollars to immigrants and even more money to Ukraine? But I'm sure they could spare some more money for the victims of this hurricane. All they really need to do is print it out on their wonderful printing press like they've been doing for everything else. What I've noticed from watching multiple videos, and I'm going to show links at the bottom for the videos which I've received the information that I'm telling you about now, is that what FEMA's presence has done is just made the situation worsen. We've had such people in authority turning away regular people that want to help, bringing in supplies, turning them around, only making this disaster even worse. And there are tons of complaints about people not receiving help. There are dead bodies everywhere, and they're doing nothing to gather the bodies. In fact, they're even talking about bulldozing the area while the dead bodies are on the ground, just so they can start building for their new project involving the lithium and the quartz mine. So why don't we talk about that for a second? Because really, that is what this is all about. And I'm sure the locals know exactly what I'm talking about because they'd been protesting this for a number of years. So if you don't know, lithium happens to be a major resource that is in demand, and it just happens that North Carolina mountains are rich with this resource, and there are certain companies that want it. But unfortunately, we have residents that live in this small town community. But no matter, their lives don't matter. We're just going to take it by force. One of the corporations, and this is dating back to 2022, is Piedmont Lithium. The CEO, Keith Phillips, who wants these resources, but the people just wouldn't play ball because they didn't want to sell their homes. Oh, well, we'll just send a hurricane your way and destroy your properties and take it anyway. As you can see here, they have climate goals. Yes, this ties into Agenda 2030 because we're talking about lithium batteries, which were the batteries that are used for EV vehicles. And of course, we got to protect the environment. Yes, it's going into that as well. They plan on digging 500 feet deep, open pits. They want to demolish homes, digging up farmlands, fields, woods, disrupting streams. And they wanted some of these people to sell their homes, but these people were not happy with that because North Carolina is a very beautiful place to live. Also, North Carolina is very rich with quartz, and it's one of the biggest quartz producers. The mines did shut down during the storm. Now they're reopened. Well, quartz is used for the microchip industry, which China was holding back on us for a while. And so we need this for computers, for cell phones. So this area is very rich with resources. And guess who wants to make billions of dollars on this? Not only this company Piedmont, but BlackRock. And what we see here is BlackRock, Vanguard, and Capital Research Global Investors has a lot of investments going on within this region. If you don't know who BlackRock is, they happen to be one of the biggest companies ever. Trillion-dollar company. As you can see, these are just a few of the companies that they own. We're talking about railroads such as Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, even Amazon and Microsoft. So you clearly see there are companies here that need these resources so that they can prosper. But they are an evil company, and they are a part of this world globalist agenda. And they will stop at nothing to do what they intend to do, and they don't care about you or I, as we can clearly see with this hurricane. So what we're looking at here is some weather images of the storm as it was headed through the southern part of the United States. And if you don't know, there's something called geoengineering, weather modification, cloud seeding. This stuff has been around since the Vietnam days, and they've been doing this with hurricanes. And while I'm not an expert in this, I will show you a couple of strange anomalies, and I encourage you to click on the links at the bottom where you can actually watch the videos that talk about this in more detail. What I want you to notice from this image, this is the storm that was moving up through the Gulf in Florida and through Georgia. We have this streak line here. Now, this is a radio frequency that is being used to manipulate this storm and push it in the direction that it wants it to go. And we're going to see more lines like this in other images as well. Now, look at this image here, because if you look closely, you'll see like an X marks the spot where the arrow is pointed at. And so these are two radio frequencies that are pushing the storm in the direction it wants to go. You see how there's a gap here, and it's kind of weirdly shaped here, right where these two lines that are intersecting are. Over here to the top left, we see that there are several little lines, and so it's pushing it more to the right. Here is the cover of a alleged document that talks about weather engineering or using weather as a weapon. What typically happens is during a hurricane, planes will fly around the storm, and it will dump dry ice or various chemicals to energize the storm, making it more violent and stronger to do more destruction. So while they're maneuvering the storm to where they want it to go, and they can actually make it sit still to dump massive amounts of rain, which is what they did with Helene. And these airplanes, meanwhile, will seed the storm to make it super saturated so that it dumps massive amounts of rain. We see this all over the world now. Here is a United States patent to weaponize weather. If you read in the abstract, it says, a method is disclosed for affecting the formation and direction of low atmospheric weather system. Audio generators are positioned to project sound waves towards a peripheral area of the weather system. The sound waves are generated at a frequency to affect the formation of the weather system in a manner to disrupt, enhance, or direct the formation of the storm. The sound waves can also be projected in a manner to cause the system to produce rain. So it's a technology to control hurricanes and tornadoes, and they do it with sound wave frequencies. So here is a document which is dated September 12th, 2023, which means they've had plans to do this for some while. And I guess they chose to do it right before the election. You know the old saying, kill two birds with one stone? The way that so that people can't vote and that we actually get another clown for president. So it says, DOT enters agreement to expand domestic lithium mining for U.S. battery supply chains. And it says it's a $90 million agreement deal under the Defense Production Act. So the U.S. government is clearly involved with this, which it makes sense now why FEMA doesn't want to help the people, because they want the people out of there. They want the people gone. They did this on purpose. They directed the storm exactly where they wanted it to go, and it did devastating damage in the area. Now, let's look at something else, because it's very interesting that it ties right into the property in which we're talking about. And we're also going to see that it is the pattern for every other disaster area that has happened. So did you know if you live in an area that becomes a disaster zone, then the government can take your property by eminent domain, which means they will pay you whatever your property was worth 5 years ago. Well, imagine you were devastated and you lost everything. What would you do? It's the perfect way to gain land that is full of rich resources and force you to move and leave. Hey, does anyone remember East Palestine? Well, the same thing evidently has happened there when we connect the pieces, because guess what? That land is also rich with minerals that they need for the lithium batteries for EV cars, and microchips for computers, and cobalt, which is also needed for technology. And so it just so happens that train derailment probably wasn't random. Also, Norfolk Southern is owned by BlackRock. Oh, again, we have BlackRock in the picture. No surprise. And the people in East Palestine, Ohio, were asked to sell their property after the disaster, and what choice did they have? And the same thing is happening in North Carolina. In fact, the same thing happened in Hawaii and also Hurricane Katrina. Look at this document dating back to 2006. Under a controversial proposal, residents of New Orleans suburbs, the most heavily damaged area by Hurricane Katrina, will have 4 months to prove strong support for rebuilding their area before possibly being forced to sell their property to the U.S. government. And who moved in? The casinos. And they get the land for cheap because it's devastated. Well, of course, they're billionaires, so what do they care? All they have to do is bulldoze it and then build new buildings. And now, currently, as I make this video, we have another hurricane in the Gulf, and it's allegedly going to be going across central Florida, and I believe it's a category 4 now. And I would imagine we're going to see the same scenario happen all over again. And don't expect the federal government to come to bail you out or help you, because they don't care. It is clear to me with all this evidence that they are doing this on purpose. And you may ask yourself, why is all this happening? Well, this nation is under judgment. This nation turned their back on God, and he said in the last days it would be like the birth pains of a woman right before she gives birth to a baby. And we clearly are seeing that those birth pains are getting louder and louder and more frequent together. Until this nation repents and turns back to God, this nation will continue to crumble and fall apart until it is no more. You know what the average is of a nation being successful when fighting against God? It is 0, and it will be 0 with America too. So I urge this country to unify, come together, or else this stuff is going to keep happening. I hope this video has made you as mad as I have been watching some of this disgusting stuff. I don't know how these people even call themselves human. I don't even think they have a conscience, but I can assure you that the judgment of God will come upon them, and they will not escape for the evil that they've done to others. I hope this opens your eyes. Stop relying on the government. They're not our friends. They don't support us anymore. They have their own agenda. That's it for this video. See you next time.